What's going on, everybody? Who wants a CAN bus diag? We got a 2015 Tahoe here that right now we can turn the key on. The battery was dead when it got here, but we can turn the key on, but we have no prindle here. But the prindle I'm not too concerned about. We do have a check engine light, but this vehicle actually drove to a shop, had transmission put in it, and now it's got communication issues. So is it coincidence? Did something happen during the transmission swap install? Let's figure that out. So I got the scan tool going here. We're going to see if it'll auto ID. It may pull a VIN out of the BCM or something, but I do know from the documentation I got from the transmission shop through the customer that there's no communication with the TCM or the PCM or ECM and possibly some other stuff. So it did actually pull a VIN out of the BCM. I'm pretty sure. That is one good thing about the Topdon, is it will attempt to pull VINs from multiple things. So it does pull a VIN. We are 2015 Tahoe. Now the customer actually towed this thing from a transmission shop in Mississippi. So it's kind of a long way to bring this to me, but hey, I'm happy to do a CAN bus diag. They're one of my favorites. So we're going to do a smart scan here. And of course, no ECM communication, like I already knew from what I got from the transmission shop. They had looked everything over. They didn't find anything that they did wrong or damaged anything. So not real sure where we're going to go with this. We do have communication with the EBCM, so that's good. At least part of our CAN bus is good, is working. We've got power steering control module, steering column module. I think that's what that SCM is, and the BCM. So they were kind of at a loss, and he didn't really know anybody that would take on this kind of work, and he found my YouTube channel. So he hit me up and got it towed over here to me. So let's see if we can get this thing figured out for this guy and get his truck running for him again. Now on the pre-scan, we're gonna have a lot of lost comm stuff, so a lot of battery voltage things. When I got here, this battery was completely dead. So I've got my van connected to it with jumper cables. It says lost, well, that says history, lost comm with steering angle sensor. That would probably be coming from the power steering module. But let's clear all these, because I know there's a ton of history codes for battery voltage and stuff like that. I don't care about none of that. I want to see what comes back fresh. And so far, I know where we've got ECM and TCM that doesn't talk. This thing is two-wheel drive, so we're not going to have a transfer case control module. CCM, chassis control module, I don't think we're going to have that. That would also be on the back half of the network where the EBCM is. So far, once this finished clearing, I think we're only going to have codes for lost comm with the ECM and TCM. We'll see what the BCM has in it. It's got 4 codes. So it may have something a little more to go off of. So we don't care about GPS. Invalid from the BCM. So BCM, driver window, passenger window. Okay, so lost comm with ECM and TCM. So that's kind of where we're at. So let's get into this and just see, do we have a complete network? Is there network integrity together, or you know, do we have an open circuit on one end of it? So we're just going to start off with some basic ohm checks at the DLC. This vehicle doesn't have a gateway module in it that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Being a 15, I'm pretty sure they didn't do a gateway in this. But so across pins 6 and 14, we've got 120 ohms. Let's go over to like pin 4 just to make sure we're not shorted to ground also, and 6,000 ohms we're not, we're fine. So this definitely seems like it's going to have an open circuit. Pretty sure this is going to be towards the PCM side, but let's get a diagram pulled up now and verify that this is going to be the rear terminating resistor. So I've got my diagrams pulled up here and went through and basically highlighted my circuit, what I'm concerned with, crossing out the things that I don't have options, and I basically just used the AC Delco website to put the VIN number in and basically see all the RPO codes that the vehicle has, and just compared those to the diagrams that I screenshotted and basically just highlighted, marked them up, things like that. So at my DLC right here, I know I've got 120 ohms. My suspicion is I'm seeing this resistor. Let me zoom you in here so you can see this. So I'm suspecting this resistor is the one I'm seeing, because I'm talking to the SCM, suspension control module, the EBCM. There was our power steering. I thought the power steering was on the engine side, but clearly it's not. Our body control module, our HMI, and our telematics. I had communication with all that. I don't remember on my pre-scan if I was talking to the front view camera or not. I honestly, I don't remember. But irregardless, it's not in line, it's just a tap off the line. So even if I'm not talking to it, I'm talking to these things. So I know at least to this splice and to this is good. So I should be able to read going through the E and F, which comes in over here. And we don't have a transfer case module, but our CAN lines do go through this junction box. This is the one that's in the footwell of the driver floorboard basically. And then our lines go across and down. We do not have the active safety control module, so we can ignore that section. We also do not have the distance sensing cruise control module on this vehicle, so we can ignore all of that. And basically we're going from there to the transmission. So our game plan is to see if we've got this section here good, and then we will work our way to this TCM. Smart thing to do in this situation, when you know they've had a TCM put in it or a transmission put in it, do a visual inspection. And I did. I looked all over this thing under it. I didn't really see anything out of place. So I don't want to get in a rabbit hole of jumping to here. I want to let the data, the process, take me here if that's the problem. So I'm going to basically verify this in and out here of this junction box and follow it to our TCM or the transmission and go from there. So another thing I noticed, and the guy might have told me, but I couldn't remember this or not, but apparently they also got a brand new engine computer, plugged it up, and didn't help anything. But we know the terminating resistor is in this module, the ECM. So I'm actually going to unplug this so that during my testing, I don't accidentally start seeing the 120 ohms from this resistor. I want to know if 100% I'm reading the one in the back or not. So let me get this guy unplugged. So I've got the ECM unplugged, and by the way, I'm also doing this with the battery disconnected. I do have my jumper cable still charging this battery, but I don't want any power on the network at all when I'm doing these tests, because like I've showed before, you get data on this network, it's going to throw your ohm reading off. So back here, let's go ahead and read our 6 and 14 again. Make sure we still have 120 ohms, which we do. So this is confirming the resistance here we're seeing is the resistor in the back of the vehicle. And the junction box that I want to get to is this guy right here. Now, ideally, I'd like to try to trim out, check as much of this as possible. So I've got my main lines coming in on X4, going out on X8, back in on X8, and out on X2. X2 is kind of a pain to get to on this thing. X8 I can get to, and let me show you why it's a pain. So this connector right here is actually X4, even though down here, if I get my light in here just right, you can see that says 2. Ignore those, that does not matter. This one is actually X4, and I actually have my data wires. Don't know if I'll be able to find them for you. They're up there in the top corner right there, the white and blue. Okay, that's my data's coming in on pin 4 and 5 right there. Now X8 is this connector right up here, and you can see those blue and white wires right there, and those are the ones leaving. And where I'm back probed right there, that's the ones coming back on those two pins right there, 12 and 13. And as you can see, we've got 121 ohms. So my data lines back to right there are still good. I'm still reading the terminating resistor at the rear. Now this X2 connector is actually on the back of this thing, and if you've ever had to take one of these things out, you know it's a pain. This thing is unreal how difficult this thing is to get in and out. So at this point, I'm going to assume that going through the junction box is good, and we're just going to go all the way back over here to our transmission and test our wires right there to see if we've got an open there. I don't really know how well I'm going to be able to film under here, but we're going to do the best we can. Okay, so I've got the transmission connector undone here, and I don't know if y'all will be able to make these out or not, but they're actually numbered, all the pins. So this one right here, this very bottom one, that's 15. Up above it would be 13 and 14, those two right there. Those two are the ones, the two pins going to my rear terminating resistor. So that's the ones I want to check real fast. So let me try to get y'all set somewhere. And I'm just using my little needles. These are bigger terminals, so these needles, they just flop around in these things. They don't spread anything. I just want to touch these terminals in here and see what we got on the meter here. 120 ohms. So from there, we actually have a good circuit to the rear terminating resistor. Now, one thing I did do while I was trying to get everything ready is I wanted to connect my ECM back up to test from here to the ECM, and those are pins 10 and 11. Now realistically, if I had 13 and 14 good, I would have communication with that TCM. But with my pins now in 10 and 11 right here, we can see we've got 122 ohms. So our circuit is actually good. Our open circuit seems to be between this connector and the TCM, which is just right there. That actually is kind of hard connected to the transmission module inside the transmission. Now, I know this is not going to come across very well on camera, and I'm probably not going to be able to get the lighting just right where y'all be able to see what I'm talking about, but just looking at this thing, this connector looks completely fine. There's nothing wrong with this, but that in there to me looks very deep down in there. So I'm kind of thinking that these pins are not actually touching those pins in there for some reason or another. I do know that inside this transmission where that connects, there's a little like slip lock in the bottom of the pan here, a little, I think it's white, that pushes up and locks that into place. And this ring is a separate little piece. It's got its own little seals and everything, and I'm just wondering if that is not installed correctly. That's what I'm thinking. This is not installed correctly, and it's not actually connecting those pins. I know the depth isn't going to come across on camera, but I just feel like that's awful deep, and how it's got kind of a gap around it that just doesn't look like what I normally remember. So I feel like this is our issue. This connector is not touching the TCM connector. So I've made me some little jumper leads here with just some harnesses to jump basically the CAN line coming into the transmission to the CAN line going out to the ECM. We're going to see if we can get this thing to run. So there we have 60 ohms on the DLC now. And I don't actually think I'm going to be able to get it to crank and run, but maybe we should be at least able to get TCM or the ECM talking with the scan tool again. And the reason why is because I don't think we're going to have a part neutral switch input to the ECM to be able to crank. That's going to be coming out of that connector. So we're not going to be able to crank, I don't think. All right, let's see here. I really don't think it's going to crank. No. All right, let's get the scan tool reconnected. See if we can at least talk to the engine computer now. All right, so let's get the scan tool going again here. We'll do a smart scan, and let's see if we have ECM talking now. And we do. So, it's not a wiring issue. We just don't have connection in the TCM. So, that's the diagnosis. Now we need to pull the pan and actually find out if that connector is like damaged, not pushed in there all the way. Hopefully that's what it is. If not, this thing may just have a dead TCM, which on this thing is a what a lot of us will call a Tecum. It'll be the hydraulic solenoids along with the TCM. So hopefully that's not what it is, but we won't know until I get the pan pulled off of this thing and actually see what's going on with their connector thing there, to see if that's actually even the issue or not. But that's the diagnosis. Now we need to figure out what the repair is. All right, so here we are. We got this thing on the rack here, and I've already took the liberty of getting all the exhaust manifold bolts loose. To be able to get this pan out, you do have to drop this to get this to kind of slip out without doing much prying and stuff. And as you can see, somebody's actually cut this before. I'm imagining whoever put this in here just cut this, took 1/2 of this out. I don't really understand why. This thing's really not that bad to get out of here. But anyways, pan's still up here. I'm going to try to save as much of the fluid as I can, because I'm sure it's new fluid. I'll know more whenever I actually get it down. But I'm going to film it because it's almost a guarantee that I'm going to end up with transmission fluid on me. And who doesn't want to see that? I mean, me getting covered in trans fluid. It happens every time. So let me get this thing zipped down. Okay. I try to usually just let this do its thing, and yeah, just let it run until it's going to stop before I really go too much further with it. And I was able to actually just crank this thing and drive it in. I jumped the can lines to it, and then also had to ground the neutral safety switch, the park neutral switch, which is pin 3 on that connector, on the transmission connector. It just needs a ground, and I was able to pull this thing in here. I know y'all are probably not in the frame at all. Let's see. Oh yeah, y'all can still see. Okay, here's fixing to be the mess, I'm sure. I'm gonna try, like I say, to keep as much in the pan as I can, but I also need the pan to slide out. So we'll see how this goes. Oh yeah, okay. Lovely. Yeah, so I was able to keep a cord or two in it. Let's see here. What do we got going on here? Now the thing that I was curious about would be that white plug right there. This little thing right here, if this is in the locked position, when you try to put this valve body in here, this will basically keep the plug from seating up in there. So I'm not real sure if this has got this pushed off or not. I'm gonna let this drip a little bit longer, and we'll see what we can see once we can get the camera in there a little better. I don't want trans fluid dripping all over me. So I'm kind of thinking about this a little wrong. It's been a long time since I had to take one of these out. This is actually locking the plastic sleeve in, this piece right here. So now I'm kind of wondering if if my TCM here is just open circuit somehow. Let's pull that sleeve out real fast. So this is that sleeve, and that thing is supposed to clip and lock into this groove here. And we've got a little groove. I don't know if you'll be able to see that little groove right here. That is what what lines it up. So, not real sure yet. So guess what I'm going to do now is actually something I should have done the other day, but being in that tight area, wasn't really able to do this. I'm not even sure I can do it right now with the camera set up in my way. I'm trying to get y'all to where y'all can see, but I want to basically ohm check across or continuity test across the can lines to see if we even got continuity in the pins. So trying to move some stuff to where I don't get dripped on and can see. So what I'm going to do now is something I should have done the other day, but I just didn't have time, and it was awkward under that under the truck. I didn't have it up high enough where I could really get in there, and I'm sure y'all are going to see the back of my head for a second. I've got to try to find my other pin that I want to check to, and I'm basically continuity testing the in and out. So I'm on pin 10 right now. I need to get to 14. Okay, so 14 beeps. Now I need to go to 11 and 13. 11 and 13 does not beep. I need to actually try to get in there and see if I'm on the right pins. Let's just see if we can use the camera here. Try to get where I can hold this steady. I should be. No, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not in the right pins. I need to be able to get in there a little bit easier and see where I'm at. Nope, I am correct. 11 and 13 does not have continuity. So that is our issue. Let's see if we got some resistance at all. Get the meter up here, we'll flip it back over to ohms, and no, we are OL between 11 and 13. I'm pretty sure that's the correct pins. Let me pull my diagram back up and we'll double check this real fast just to make sure. Yeah, so with all data you can see my in and outs are 10 and 11, and then 14 and 13. So 10 and 14 are the same line, and then 11 and 13 are the other line. So yeah, it looks like we've just got a bad TCM. So I guess we'll inform the customer and then get this thing fixed. I've already talked to him. I know he's going to want to fix this. I already talked to him the other night when I told him, you know, I got to drop the pan. So he's already been prepped. He knows this was a possibility, and it just sucks. I was really hoping this thing just wasn't pushed together good, but it is what it is. So hopefully with documenting this video along with all this, maybe he can get some money back out of the refurber that built this transmission. Is gray Generally gray transmissions like this are Jaspers. I have no idea what he bought though. I don't have any idea who put it in. All I know is this thing was drove to a shop, this transmission was put in, and it's been towed around to a few different shops since then, and then finally towed to me here in Alabama, over 3 or 4 hours away. And it is what it is. He needs a TCM, which is basically pulling this whole valve body out, unbolting the TCM off of it, bolting a new one on it. We actually just call them TECMs. Transmission electrically, hydraulically controlled manifold, I think is what they call it, or something like that. I'll look what the acronym actually means. I'll post it under here so you'll actually know. But it needs a TECM. Okay, so I've got the TECM out. Picked up a brand new one this morning. So just got to finish swapping this over, get this put back in the truck, and of course this will have to be programmed, but pretty sure this is going to fix their issue here. So when you're doing these bolts, they do have a torque spec, and it does have like a sequence you got to do. It tells you initially to basically hand tighten these two bolts. So they are, I can still loosen them with my fingers, and then hand tighten all of these. And really what that's doing is just kind of making sure this gets orientated correctly and this heat sink gets pressed up and heat sinks correctly to the valve body. So you got to follow all that, and then there's, like I say, a tightening procedure for all these. The torque spec I think is different for these bolts and these two over here. I'm still in the middle of this. I know, if I remember right, these are 71 inch-pounds, and these over here, I gotta try to look, but I think those are like maybe 21 inch-pounds or something. I can't remember. I've got to still read all my service information. It's kind of hard to video this because I'm getting this everywhere. So let me finish getting this torqued up and installed in the truck. Probably gonna be a little dark in here, but got the Topdon hooked back up. Now, moment of truth, I still got to put fluid in this thing, but are we gonna see communication with the ECM? The TCM is blank, so we have no prindle. That's normal. It's even normal that some of these won't even communicate with a scan tool before they're programmed, so that's fine. But let's just hit the smart scan. We're looking, do we get a box? Yes. So now we've got communication with the ECM. Like I said, I doubt we may not have communication. Oh, we do. Okay. So there we go. This is looking much better. And I'm sure we're going to have communication fault codes. Still in a lot of modules. But there we go. We've restored our communication to the TCM and ECM. So now I just got to put a few quarts of fluid in this thing, program it with SPS, and this thing should be good to go. So one thing on that torque spec thing, it was 71 inch-pounds all the way around. It's just those two bolts on the heatsink, those just go last. That was the note about those. They're just tightened last. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully this customer will appreciate getting his truck back. I'm sure they will. They've been without it for a little while now and spent a lot of unnecessary money on this thing when it was just a bad TCM that was put in this reman transmission. And probably when they were testing this thing, they might have used a connector to read the module that was connected to the opposite CAN lines, basically the output side of the CAN line instead of the input side. And they probably could actually communicate with it just fine when they did their testing. But there's two lines. There's an in and an out, and if the in isn't connected to the out, well, you're not going to have communication in the vehicle. So it just wasn't thoroughly tested. No idea what broke it. That TCM actually has a core charge on it, so I can't dissect it and find what's actually broke with it. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys later.